Hello, Dr. Chris. This is Pastor Steve Kola of Gateway Church in St. Peters, Missouri. This is Workshop 5, Assignment 2A, dealing with a racialized society. I've never done a video assignment before, so I hope I'm getting this right, and I hope you'll be gentle with me if I make a fool of myself doing this. The first question was, according to Emerson and Smith, what is a racialized society? And according to Emerson and Smith, the idea of a racialized society goes beyond the idea of racism as an aggressive or a negative or discriminatory act of one person against another. It goes beyond the idea of over prejudice, and instead it recognizes the collective misuses of power that result in diminished life opportunities for some racial groups. They define it actually as a racialized society, as a society wherein race matters profoundly for differences in life experiences, life opportunities, and social relationships. And so it's more than just aggressive, angry, discriminatory, hateful behavior between one person and another. It's an entire system where, due to race, some people are either disenfranchised or certainly disadvantaged over and against another race. The second question was, in what ways is claiming colorblindness counterproductive? And I think colorblindness, at least among well-meaning Christian, especially Christian evangelicals, is claimed as a good thing, meaning we don't see people based on their race, but rather we simply see them as another person. And while that sounds very magnanimous, it sounds very progressive, especially in light of America's history of discrimination and oppression based on race. What it does is actually serves to reinforce racialization in our society, and it does it in this way. When as a white majority we claim colorblindness, we allow ourselves to be lulled into a false sense of equity. Because I say, I don't see my neighbor as white, as black, as Asian, as Indian. Instead, as I see everyone the same, what I do is I remove myself from the system that is inequitable. I remove myself from the group that creates racialization, and so I kind of insulate myself from being blamed or being held personally responsible. And when we view racism and racialization simply as a matter of individual sin, we can say, I'm colorblind, I don't commit that sin, I'm not a part of that problem. We remove ourselves from the problem, and a part of that danger is that we no longer then begin to work to bring equity, because it's not our problem anymore. And we're not able to respond humbly, we're not able to respond with mercy or justice the way God has called us to, because we are actually a part of a system that generates inequality and injustice. The third question was, in your opinion, why does talking about race or ethnicity often become difficult and volatile? And why is it difficult or not difficult for you to talk about race or ethnicity personally? And I think a lot of conversations based around the issues of race and ethnicity can become difficult because there is such a great potential for misunderstanding and perceived loss. Because most white American evangelical cultural tools are based on what Emerson and Smith called free will, accountable individualism, and relationalism, then the concept of group accountability is removed, and the idea of group accountability becomes very threatening. This aversion to group accountability, coupled with the in-group bias that Emerson and Smith talk about, makes it too emotionally costly for many white evangelicals to engage in meaningful conversations regarding race issues in America. The thought of losing your individual identity, or the thought of being blamed for someone else's misdeeds, or maybe even more painful, the thought of being held accountable for racism as a system, is just too risky emotionally and personally, so a lot of white Christians find it easier to avoid the topic altogether. I totally get that. I've been there. I've experienced that. In fact, I still wrestle with that. But some things that have helped me overcome that are the fact that in my neighborhood it has become changing. There are more African American families moving in. Those friendships have helped me to see things from their perspective. But maybe more than that is the fact that my wife's sister is in a mixed marriage, and my niece and my nephew are obviously of mixed race, and so we've had a very upfront personal experience with how racism and the system that holds blacks in America down has been played out. And so that's, I think, something that has changed that for me a little bit. The fourth question was, according to Emerson and Smith, In what ways does the organization and structure of the church contribute to the problem of racialization? And I think what they hinted at, and I will call it this way, much of the evangelical church in America is based on consumerism. They talked about the marketplace of faith. And the idea, when you focus on a religious marketplace, it encourages churches to market to a specific segment or a specific population, offering people what they want when they come to a church. And by default, this causes people to gravitate towards those who have worship experiences similar to theirs, those that they most contact or connect with, largely because it's what they already know. It fosters greater segregation. It fosters greater homogeneous congregations. And because our social circles are deeply influenced by our faith, at least if we're an evangelical Christian in America, and then what that does is it creates us to have more homogeneous social circles even outside of the church, thus building up greater walls and creating more racialization in our nation. And the implications impact every aspect, from hiring employees to housing, to financial stability, all the way down. Our social networks, greatly influenced by our homogeneous churches, though inadvertently, tend to create greater walls of separation between races here in America. That's the end of Part A. Thank you very much.